So this is a number that is going to be something that you want to track over time, and it's going to make you into a master closer if this number goes up, okay? When you make this number go up, you will find that you are able to sell more people. You're able to sell people with less work, so you sell more people putting in less effort, and you will find that you attract more people to sell, and you will also find that everything in your life just starts to become easier when you work on increasing this number, okay? If you want to be a master salesperson, you have to be aware of this number, and you have to be actively looking to increase this number, okay? And that number is better stated as, you could call it a ratio, or you could call it a percentage, 100% being the maximum. And that number or ratio, I call the voice to impact ratio. Voice to impact ratio. Okay, so a ratio is simply meaning for one thing, how much of another thing do I get? Okay, so for my voice, how much impact does it have? Now by voice, I mean when you're speaking to a prospect, when you're speaking to people in your life. And so your voice to impact ratio, if you imagine someone like if he simply just says the word cool, you're like, whoa, he said cool. It wasn't anything magical about what he said or even the tonality of how he said it. It's the impact of every word that he says. And this is a number and a ratio that you need to work on in your life as a salesperson, is when you speak, not focusing on the words, but just focusing on the gravity, focusing on the density of everything that you speak. How impactful is it actually to the people that you speak to, okay? We're going to do an interesting exercise that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for all of you, but it's going to bring your awareness to this ratio, okay? So on your piece of paper, or on the next piece of paper, you're going to write down everybody that's sitting here's name, including me. Okay, so you're going to write Melek, Pete, Chris, George, Matt, everyone's name, okay? All right. And so your voice to impact ratio, when you are on a sales call, you are not just pulling people through the sales call with what you say, the questions you say, the reframes you say, the data you gather. You're actually pulling them through the conversation with the impact of who you are as a person. And if you increase this number of your voice to your impact ratio, you're able to get the same stuff done on a sales call in less words, in less time, without even really worrying about saying something in a very smart way or a very clever way. You're actually moving people through the sales call more with your impact, okay? So next to each person's name, you are going to put a percentage. 100% would be they have the maximum voice to impact ratio, and 0% is going to be they have a very low voice to impact ratio. Hopefully you've all spoken to everyone here, and you've had some type of interaction with everyone in this room. You are not going to have to read out these numbers, guys, so don't feel like I'm going to ask you, hey, what did you think about Valentina's voice to impact ratio, okay? I'm not going to make it that uncomfortable for you. But I do want you to start bringing your awareness to assessing other people's voice to impact ratio, because it's going to help you see this as a pattern in your life. Oh, wow, when that person speaks, when they just say hello, I feel really impacted. When someone else speaks, you know, I just don't really feel anything. They might be saying something that's interesting, saying something that's relevant, saying something that's true, saying something that's smart, but I just don't really feel the impact from them. Okay, so for everybody on your list, which is everyone here, you're going to write down a percentage. And when you start looking at those smaller, you're not supposed to look at each other's, by the way, guys. Yeah. When you start writing down these numbers, it's going to open up the next part of this conversation, guys. Part of becoming a unicorn closer is becoming the best version of yourself. A part of the best version of yourself is developing, like Matt said, like a video game character, the words that you say. Do you use powerful words? Do you string your sentences together succinctly? Do you say but, maybe, possibly, kind of, and all of those weak words? But there's another side to the equation, which is who is saying the words. This is also known, and it's been studied in science, as speaker credibility. Part of speaker credibility is, do you know that they have success? Do you know they have accolades? You know, if Elon Musk said something about painting, even though, as far as I'm aware, he's not a painter, you'd probably listen to what he's saying. A part of that, though, is because you know who he is. But it goes another level. You can meet someone that you've never met before, that you don't know anything about them. You don't know if they're a successful businesswoman or a businessman. You don't know if they've got success in their family life. But when they speak, they just carry a gravity, they carry a weight, and you feel like what they're saying has meaning, it has impact. So it's nothing to do with the literal, oh, I know that this person has this amount of money, or has this real estate portfolio, or has these accolades, or this success. It's much, much deeper than that. It's energetic, it's spiritual, it's the level of density that you have in your character. That is also why, by the way, if you want to write that down as a phrase, character density, when someone has become successful and they've made a lot of money, and in the process of making a lot of money, they improved their character density, they improved the gravity of who they are. And something unfortunate happens. and they lose all of their money. They rebound and they make it all over again. They don't have any issues, it just comes back again because the money is attracted to the density of the character. And then there are other people that make money like they win the lottery. They have no voice to impact ratio. They have no density in their life. They make that money, they spend it all, and they're poor again. And they don't know how to remake that money because they didn't actually make the money in the process of developing the density of their character. Does this make sense? Yes. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do, I assume everyone's got a percentage next to everybody's name. This is going to be the hard bit, guys. You are going to have to think. Why did you give the people that have a low number, and why did you give the people a high number? Guys, before we carry on with thoughts, feedbacks, takeaways, questions, on another sheet of paper, if you're writing on a double-side notebook, write it on the other hand side. If you're on a vertical piece of paper, if you've got enough space below, like a big space, do it below. I want you to draw a stick figure, relatively large on the other piece of paper. And somewhere next to that stick figure, you're going to put a percentage, which is the voice to impact ratio of yourself. What do you think your voice to impact ratio is? And so now we have 3 places on a chart. We have where you are currently at. We have a bunch of people listed out in names that are below you, and you have a bunch of people, hopefully, that are above you in the percentage. You are now creating a measure. Okay, I'm here, and these people are higher on the percentage, and these people are lower on the percentage. And as we now dig into what has led to those differences, you should be writing down what are the kind of key inputs that will get you to a place where your number goes higher. So you said intention, where it's coming from. You said the amount of time and effort that someone has spent thinking through something, articulating in their own mind or studying what they want to say. So time and effort, intention. What else, guys?
So, thank you. If they know, like if there's boundaries established, like, hey, when I'm working, please don't interrupt me. That this is how I conduct myself. This is why we live the way we live. When I'm busy, knock on the door. I'll answer if I'm able to, or please don't interrupt me. And you're breaking the rules.
So the people have boundaries. Boundaries between who?
Between everything, I think, right? I mean, that's your values.
Boundaries for themselves.
Because what if I gave an example of a husband and a wife? What if the person that's in the office is the person that comes to the door is a total stranger that doesn't know the person's boundaries, and that person still says no? They don't know what your boundaries are, but they feel your boundaries. So it's your own boundaries to yourself. It's not an agreed boundary between 2 people. Hey, wife, husband, when I'm doing this, don't do this. When I'm doing that, you can do this. That is a boundary, but that's a pre-agreed boundary. Still works if there's no pre-agreed boundary. People feel it. Does that make sense, guys? Whenever you're trying to create the rules for something, you have to think, is it that or is it this? Or what if I go a layer deeper? Is there an exception to that rule? So the first thing that you can write down definitively that is going to increase your voice to impact ratio is your own boundaries with yourself. And people will feel that even if they don't know that. They might not know that you have boundaries. They might not know what your boundaries are. And guys, they don't need to know. They will feel it. Now, what happens if you say you have boundaries to yourself, but you start breaking your own boundaries in situations where the person that you then end up talking to was not there? So they don't even know, literally, they didn't see you break your own boundary. Would they feel it?
Yeah.
Yep. So when you say to yourself, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m., and you don't get up at 5 a.m., and the next day you take a sales call with a prospect that has no fucking idea you didn't get up at 5 a.m. when you told yourself you were going to get up at 5 a.m., they feel that your voice to impact ratio has gone down. Does this make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay. What else? What is another reason why you gave someone on your list a higher score than you? Christian, did you have one? It's energetic, yeah. People don't need to see what you do or don't do.
Right.
People don't need to hear what you do or don't say. Your energy is communicating the impact of you as a person way before, way after, and way more than your words are communicating, which is why we're training on this, guys. Your voice to impact ratio has nothing to do with your body language, how you fucking sit. I could sit 3 successful business people here that all have a very high voice to impact ratio. One sits like this, like Justin Liu, in a suit. Another person's like this, like hanging off the chair, and the other person sits somewhere in the middle. They all have the same voice to impact ratio. Nothing to do with their body language. Nothing to do with the words that come out their mouth. One person opens their mouth, talks really, really, really fast, but you're listening to everything. Another person says 2 words, and you're like listening to everything. Another person somewhere in the middle. But they all have the same voice to impact ratio. So what we're doing in this exercise is digging into, if it's not this, because that's not consistent, if it's not this, because that's not consistent, what is the consistent things across all people with a high voice to impact ratio that makes you feel that they have a high voice to impact ratio? One of those things is having your own boundaries and actually following through on those boundaries, regardless if someone actually sees whether you break or don't break your own boundaries to yourself. That's one.
Josh is the type of person who knows his boundaries and does what he says he's going to do, and other people who aren't doing that want to be doing that, are going to then, they're going to see that in you and be like, I want to be like this guy. They're going to feel it. They're going to, like see it proverbially, right? Like they're going to feel that, and that is going to, that's going to lend to the gravity of your voice, of everything.
Absolutely, guys. To dig a little bit deeper on that, and so that you guys have more material, it's not that I do everything I say I'm going to do, and I don't do everything that I say I'm not going to do. It's that, no, I'm not, definitely not. It's that there's a higher number of the things that I say I'm going to do that I do than any of you guys that had a lower number than me, and the same in reverse. And the reason I clarify that is because the reason has a way higher voice to impact ratio than me is because I don't think there is anything he says he's going to do that he doesn't do, or anything he say he won't do that he then goes and does. Yeah. So it's a scale, guys. The voice to impact ratio is not black or white. Oh, Josh does everything that he says he's going to do, and I don't. No, it's as you look through your weekly schedule and you said, okay, I had 100 decisions over the week. Josh may have done 95 of the ones that he was supposed to do. Did 99 or 100, and I'm doing 20 or 30. I don't want any of you to think that it's like I'm like perfect, because that would actually disempower you. And I want you to feel more empowered to realize you need to look at your days, your weeks, your months, your years, and say, how many of the things that I said I was going to do did I do? And how many of the things that I said I wasn't going to do did I not go and do? And you want to push that number higher and higher and higher and higher, and that will increase your voice to impact ratio. So that is one of those things.
Do you consider that like the same as conviction?
Well, that's where conviction comes from.
Yeah.
And conviction is a description of the voice to impact ratio. When someone says he has conviction, it's like, describe that. What do you mean? And they wouldn't actually be able to describe it, which is why we're digging into it. When someone says, increase your conviction on a sales call, it's like, do you actually know what that means, guys? You're probably like, I know logically what they're trying to say, but what actually is that? What it is that the impact of what you say and what you do has a much higher impact to the physical words that come out your mouth, or the physical body language that you do. There's an energy behind it, and the higher that ratio is, that's what conviction is. Make sense? So yeah, those same things. People train all the time, oh, have more conviction on a sales call. Well, it's not very useful training someone on something if they don't actually know what it is. Like, well, what is conviction? I know when I'm in the presence of someone with conviction. I know when I'm in the presence of someone without conviction. I know when I have conviction on my sales calls, and I feel it. And I feel it because I also get the response I want from the prospects. But please explain to me what conviction is. Ask any other sales trainer, and they're like, it's just conviction. It's not very useful. So that's why we're going through this exercise, so that you can increase the feeling of conviction that your prospects feel of you, which is your voice to impact ratio.
I was trying to say conviction for a long time, but then Alex got it, so great. And then that gave me another idea. The mental model of how you see yourself is how you would increase your voice to impact ratio.
Perfect. Where does that come from?
That also comes from the boundaries and standards as well.
Yeah.
But what if, the reason why I said that as a separate variable is because what if it's just how you see yourself, regardless of the actions that you did? You know what I mean?
You can't fake that with yourself. You can't fake that with yourself. Well, that's also why that's connected as well. The swagger trap is, your level of actual competence is below, your level of confidence is below your level of confidence is higher than your level of competence. So you think you're doing better than you actually are, but if we actually dug into a core review, you're not actually doing the things you're supposed to do. But that will be transferred through conviction. You will not have the highest level close rate that you could have, because you can't fake your conviction. People feel it. And not only the people that you're directly interacting with will feel it, the leads that are supposed to turn up on your calendar that haven't spoke to you yet will feel something through the universe. Something will shift. It's like the butterfly effect. Something will shift in their life, and they'll cancel their call. You didn't even speak to them. You didn't even send them a text message, and they've already canceled the call because your conviction went down, because your voice to impact ratio went down. Okay, guys, there's another one that I want to see if any of you get. If you were someone that consistently broke your own promises to yourself, and then tomorrow, for 24 hours, you actually did everything you said, your voice to impact ratio on your very next sales call would skyrocket immediately. So it's not that you need a track record of it necessarily, because you can just decide, you know what, I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually going to do everything I say I'm going to do, and you change your frequency. Your energy can change from 1 second to the next.
Yeah,
okay?
That makes sense.
Yeah, contracting versus expanding. When you think things are tough and you contract, it's also going to decrease your voice to impact ratio. When things are tough, which is what we're talking about, the survival instinct. When things are tough, if you contract and you shrink, you will lower your voice to impact ratio. When things are tough and you grow and you expand and the fire comes on in your eyes and you're like a lioness or a lion or a tiger, and the animal instinct comes on, you're like, I am going to make it happen. I am not dying through this experience. I will survive. I will thrive. I will grow. That increases your voice to impact ratio. So there are parts of your biology, parts of your cells that turn on when you put yourself in there's actually a catch. If any of you, Alex was mentioning Jordan Peterson. If you are in a difficult situation and you willingly confront the difficulty of that situation, more of you will turn on. More of your latent, dormant potential will turn on, but only if you confront it willingly, which is going back to what we were saying about the two beggars. I'm in poverty, I'm hungry, I'm gonna willingly confront that and go and find something to eat, versus I'm homeless, I'm poor, I'm hungry, I'll just sit there with my hands out waiting for money. Well, the extra parts of you that could actually get you out of that situation, the biological cells that need to turn on, the switches that need to turn on, won't turn on. Because you may be in a difficult situation, but you're not willingly confronting it. And if we want to go a layer deeper, the cells of your body, everything is a hologram, we talked about the holographic universe, is a reflection of the universe. So when you, quote unquote, turn on more cells inside of you, more cells, more stars, more things in the universe are also turning on. And so the homeless person that has not willingly confronted that they're homeless and they're starving, that wakes up one day and says, you know what, I'm gonna willingly confront the fact that I'm in this situation, I'm gonna face it. That change in their cells, their switches all turning on, will reflect, because the universe is a mirror, it's a reflection, and what will probably happen, as a far-fetched example, but to explain the point, someone will walk down the street and say, oh, you know, I think I could offer you a job. And boom, they've now got a job. That person didn't randomly walk down the street and bump into them. That person switched on in the hologram of the universe because the person switched on the switches inside of themselves. It was all a reflection. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah. It's like accessing a higher frequency, which is then connecting to the 4D. And
which is then sending that person down the road and saying, oh, you know, I run a business. Or it'll be some person walks down the road and says, hey, you know what, I see you're homeless, I'm not gonna give you money, but if you wanna wash my car, I'll give you $50. They wash the car. The businessman or businesswoman says, oh, you did a pretty good job of that. You know what, I kinda need my car washed every week. Do you wanna do it every week? All of a sudden, this cascading butterfly effect has changed their entire life. Yeah. So as you're turning on those extra things inside of yourself, you're turning on things inside of your reality externally at the same time. It's all a reflection. It's like, and this is part of why life can be so interesting, is that you can bump into a total random stranger at a coffee shop or at an event, and they start talking about something they're so passionate about because they've truly committed to building excellence in it. And it might not be a topic that you have any interest in. They're talking to you about painting. You're like, I don't really care about painting. But there's something gravitational about the way they're talking about it. That's because they've committed their life to following their boundaries as a human being. That, by the way, doing that is what's allowed them to get to a point of passion and excellence at one specific topic. They've probably also been through some hardships that all of a sudden you're sitting there for 2 hours listening to someone talk about painting. And you're like, why did I sit here for 2 hours? They're talking about something I don't even really care about. It's not relevant to me right now. It's not making me money. I'm not really interested in the topic. I'm interested in the gravity of the person. The feeling of the person is what pulled you in. It's not the topic. Any of you ever been in a situation where you ended up having a conversation with some total stranger about something that you would have never talked about, and you sat there for 2 hours? So it's not the content, it's the person. It's the energy of the person.